Hi, friends. This is Think Inclusive, the podcast from the Maryland Coalition for Inclusive Education. I'm Tim Villegas. Today's episode is about dreaming big and doing the work to make those dreams real. We're talking about a project that's quietly transforming how California supports students with the most extensive support needs. It's called EmbraceAbilities. And it's not just a grant, it's a movement. You'll hear from two educators, Marcia Reily and Kristen Stanke, who are helping lead this work from the Los Angeles County Office of Education. And we'll explore what it means to build inclusive systems from the ground up, even when the odds and the structures aren't in your favor. But first, a quick word from our sponsor. This season of Think Inclusive is brought to you by IXL. IXL is a fantastic all-in-one platform designed for K-12 education. It helps boost student achievement, empowers teachers, and tracks progress seamlessly. Imagine having a tool that simplifies what usually requires dozens of different resources. Well, that's IXL. As students practice, IXL adapts to their individual needs, ensuring they're both supported and challenged. Plus, each learner receives a personalized learning plan to effectively address any knowledge gaps. Interested in learning more? Visit ixl.com/inclusive. That's ixl.com/inclusive. After a short break, we'll hear from Marcia Reily and Kristen Stanke of EmbraceAbilities. Catch you on the other side. Okay, we're in Visalia, California. It's day 2 of the EmbraceAbilities Learning Institute. The air is buzzing, not just with conversation, but with possibility. Educators from across the state have gathered here, and they're not just attending another professional development event. They're co-creating something new, something bold. I sat down with Marcia Reily and Kristen Stanke, two leaders from the EmbraceAbilities Grant Project. And what struck me most wasn't just their knowledge, it was their hope.
Marcia Reily, Coordinator 3 with the EmbraceAbilities Grant Project with Los Angeles County Office of Education.
Kristen Danhour Stanke, Senior Program Specialist for the EmbraceAbilities Grant Project with the Los Angeles County Office of Education.
Why don't we just start out with some reflections for the event and tell me kind of like, I know we're in day 2, but anything that stood out to you from just the last couple of days?
So I'm sure Kristen has some ideas, but I think what stands out is just the overall positive, warm feeling that we have from everyone, from the attendees to the site visits, the feedback from the site visits, the staff, the students, and how welcoming everyone is to Tulare County Office of Ed, just how everyone wants to be here and seems to feel honored to be here. This isn't a place that they have to be or we're voluntold. It's a place that, wow, this is somewhere we get to be.
Yeah, I think it's been magical to see hear everyone's conversations. I know I walked into the MCIE session yesterday and some of in the corners when they're in their groups, just hearing them talk and the conversations that they were having on how to support each other and how to create systems change and shift mindset. So that way our students with disabilities are included more in the general education classrooms.
Let's back up. What is EmbraceAbilities? It's one of 7 special education resource leads funded by the California Department of Education. But unlike the others, this one focused specifically on students with extensive support needs, those who often end up in segregated and separate classrooms, or even separate schools. Marcia put it this way:
We are extensive support needs is kind of the clincher there. So we have our lane, but it's almost like a bike lane, right? Because it's extensive support needs. There is another special education resource lead that focuses on inclusion, but that's kind of more general. Ours, county office run programs, regionalized programs for students with extensive support needs.
Their goal, to help county offices of education, COEs, build the capacity to support inclusive practices, not just in theory, but in real classrooms with real students. Over the past year, the EmbraceAbilities team visited dozens of counties across California. They didn't come in with answers. They came in with questions. They listened to families. They observed classrooms. They asked, what's working? What's getting in the way? And then they did something radical. They co-created solutions with the people doing the work. At the Learning Institute in Visalia, I saw this in action. Educators weren't just learning. They were dreaming. They were asking, what if we didn't have to send students away to get support? What if we could build that support right here? Kristen told me,
California, I think, is interesting in that each county office has its own personalities and challenges and bright spots. And so when we've looked at the state, it's been interesting to see just how different each one is, looking at what they're working with and their challenges, and how eventually that those challenges and supports can eventually spread throughout the state where other county offices might be in similar positions.
so this morning you presented the year one of your grant, and that you went around California and visited a lot of different sites. Were there some common themes from where you visited in the educational systems you visited that were kind of like priorities for them as you were figuring out how you're supporting systems to include learners with extensive support needs? Were there things on top of mind for them? Like, so just some common themes?
Leveraging available resources. So what can they do? We had one small county office where they had a student that was placed there through the foster care system in one city, and because it comes in with an IEP, the current level of support that was needed to be in another city 30, 45 minutes away, even though same county. And so the foster care parents weren't able to do the transportation. They didn't have a bus, but they had employees living in that city working at the high school. And so they worked out the transportation for this student. Now, is that best for inclusion? I don't know. I don't know the IP, but they can leverage the resources to then get the students in a place where they can assess and see what can be needed. Can the student come back? Mm-hmm. So things like that. So, just knowing your small group, your staff, who lives where, because it's two different cities within a small county office. You pivot. they do that, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think also just relationships, like some of the county offices that do have good working relationships with their LEAs and how they're supporting them, and how some programs are run by the districts and the counties are supporting. And some, even this past year, there's a county who has given their programs back to the districts. And so when the counties give the programs back to the districts, you're cutting more of that red tape. It's no longer this student is funded under this agency and these students are funded under this agency, and how we're intermingling those. It's now all one, and the districts have the responsibility of those students because now they truly are their students, rather than they're on they are their students sometimes, but not all the time. So it's definitely been interesting to see the different districts that have done that. And LA County is actually one of those counties who has given programs back to the district. So we are not running programs other than probation or specialized art schools.
The EmbraceAbilities team didn't just collect stories, they collected data. And from that data, they identified promising practices that are making a difference. And all of these are in their annual report, which we will link to in the show notes. Here are just some of them. Prioritizing staff training and retention. When educators feel equipped and valued, they stay, and students thrive. Family engagement. Families aren't just participants, they're partners. One county office of education even created videos to help families understand the IEP process. Inclusion with same-age peers. Not just proximity, but participation. Real inclusion. Leveraging available resources, from creative transportation solutions to deaf mentor programs, COEs are finding ways to make it work. A whole student approach, because students are more than their IEPs. They're people with dreams, strengths, and stories. These aren't just best practices, they're human practices. Of course, there's still work to do. The report also identified key opportunities for improvement, like increasing access to same-age general education peers, raising academic expectations, updating program schedules to match general education hours, moving from person-dependent systems to sustainable systemic approaches. These aren't just small tweaks, they're big shifts. But they're possible, especially when we do the work together. Any final thoughts to wrap up our discussion?
I'm just excited that we had this opportunity year one to visit and to go in and collect all the information and then take that and have this Learning Institute. Our visits were co-created with each county office, and the Learning Institute, we have co-created the learning from that in addition to the people that have registered. What would you like to see? And even into year three, we are co-creating that learning. And I think that is so important part of this, because again, we don't know, but can we have these conversations to get people together to identify, hey, there are other people that are doing this work. How can we support what you need, where you're at, and to move forward? So I love the feeling of this, and feels almost magical, like this gift. Wow, we're doing this. And it's such a different world than when I was a site administrator. And, middle school level, just such a different feel, and not putting out fires. And this way, it's like, yeah. Wow, we're dreaming together and we are supporting each other. Because, understand things aren't great sometimes, and there's opportunity for improvement. And, okay, this is where we're at, and this is where I'd like to be. And it's just, I think we're just so grateful that we get to do this work, and by design.
Yeah. I think I just love the energy and the motivation to do what's best for kids. I think back to being in the classrooms, and it's like know better, do better, because I feel like then you do it. The system has always been the way the system is to an extent. And so it's like, looking back now, it's like, oh, that could have been better and that could have been different. And so now I think seeing the system from a broader view has been really impactful and really inspiring to just see what's possible and to look at the system as a place for growth. Like, we can do better. And so it's been really cool, and seeing so many people being so excited about this work and wanting to do what's best for kids and support kids in the classroom. So it's been awesome.
Thank you both for your time. Really appreciate it. If you are an educator listening to this, you might be thinking, this all sounds great, but I am just one person. Here's the thing. So are Marcia and Kristen. So are the teachers and families they work with, and yet together, they're changing the system. Inclusion isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about asking better questions. It's about believing that every student belongs, and then doing the work to make that belief a reality. Here's what I'd love for you to do. Send me an email at tvillegas@mcie.org and tell me, what was your favorite episode of season 12 of Think Inclusive? We're wrapping up this season, and I would love to know, was it this one? Was it another story that moved you, challenged you, or gave you hope? I want to hear from you, because your voice matters. and because this podcast is for you. That's all the time we have for this episode of Think Inclusive. This podcast is written, edited, mixed, and mastered by me, Tim Villegas. Original music by Miles Credich, with additional tunes by Melody. Think Inclusive is a proud production of the Maryland Coalition for Inclusive Education. A big thank you to our sponsor, IXL. Check them out at ixl.com/inclusive. And if you're still listening, it probably means that you believe in this work. Help us keep it going by donating at our website, mcie.org. Just click the button at the top of the site and chip in $5, $10, $20. It would mean the world to us and to the students and educators we serve. You can find a link to the full EmbraceAbilities year-end report in the show notes. Thanks for being here, and remember, inclusion always works. From MCIE.